Hey George,
Hey, man. How's it
how are
going?
you?
You good? These aren't working.
Good. Good. Oh, I got a little echo here.
How you
Oh,
doing?
what a day.
Been a long one?
Oh, I lost you.
You can't hear me?
I cannot hear you.
Wait, let me see if other
Oh,
people can
I
hear me.
got you now.
Okay, cool. Okay, all good?
All good.
Nice. Had a good day?
Yeah, good. Good long day. Lots going on. Good stuff.
Okay. That's awesome, awesome, awesome. Where are you right now?
I am in Ohio, so heading back home tomorrow.
Okay. Nice, nice.
Yeah.
I think let's give it a few more minutes here for some people to join. Yeah, got quite a few people interested in the barrels. I'm gonna pour myself a whiskey.
There you go.
Any excuse.
Any excuse is a good one.
Yeah, I
Good,
got
a good evening with good people on a good call with some good
yeah,
whiskey. You know?
exactly. Yeah, I got some 19-year-old tequila samples through. Uh, well, Juan did in the US. I'm gonna try them on the weekend when I head there. No idea
Oh,
what that's gonna taste like, but pretty excited.
I'm sure it's going to be fantastic.
Right, let me share my screen here. Go. Does that look how it's supposed to look? No, I don't think so. That doesn't look great. Let's see. I'll figure it out. Always have this issue. I feel like every time we do this webinar, and it's like the same problem.
This happens to me about 19 times a day. So
It's like every single time I think I've got it, and I just don't got it. Anyway,
that's right.
all right. I think that looks okay. That's cool. A few people have joined. Give it a few more minutes here. Yeah, you said you're a big tequila drinker, right?
Yeah, I definitely enjoy some tequila.
Nice. Yeah, being here in Mexico, you can't find that much. Like when I'm here, there's not much whiskey. I mean, there's all right whiskey, but it's like it's just the Macallans and then Johnny Walkers and stuff. There's nothing really interesting. So I feel I like heavily just switched to agave when I came here.
Yeah.
Mezcal, there was a fade of mezcal, there was a tequila phase. And yeah. All right. Well, I think that's a few people on. People probably keep joining, but we can probably kick it off here. Let's do, yeah. Right. Awesome. So everybody, thank you for joining. Good to have you here. For anybody that has bought from us before, this is a super exciting new brand to look into. Anyone who hasn't, I think this will be super fun, and we'll have some really good chats and reasons why you should own an Old Elk barrel. So, always hate this slide. It's like me talking about myself. But I'm the founder of Barrel Global, a few other brands. As again, to anybody who's new, I started Barrel Global as basically a company to make barrel ownership accessible to anyone and make it fun, no minimums, and no crazy investments. We wanted to make a fun, exciting company, something that people could really get behind, the barrel ownership experience, as opposed to just, the investment side of things. We, provide great experiences. People can visit their barrels, they can touch their barrels, taste them. We help with bottling. We help people build their own brand. We've got Murray in Kentucky who leads our customer experience that I know a lot of you might know on this call, who's just awesome and like a bourbon encyclopedia. We've got Juan, Charles, great team. And yeah, it's going pretty well so far. And these are some other brands that, we have a marketing company. I've got a Scotch whiskey brand. We do stuff in tequila, and we have a comic book whiskey brand that I won't get too much into. But without further ado, I'd like to introduce Lewis here. He's the CEO of Old Elk, which is great to have him on our call with us. As many of you might know from our emails, we just recently signed and started a partnership with Old Elk. It's a distillery I've always really liked. You can see it anywhere you go in the US, which is pretty awesome. I see it in all bars, all stores. I think you guys are in 50 states, right?
That's correct. Yep.
Yeah. Won tons of awards. They do amazing, tons of different mash bills. I love the bottle. It's like a super premium packaging. Great mash bills, great finishes. They do blends. Their high wheat barrels that we've just gotten are, some of their most award-winning, but they do, they got a lot of different, I think it's 16 different mash bills you guys do?
We've got five different mash bills, but then about 16, 17 different variations, including some of the finishes and blends. Yep.
Nice. But yeah, as I said, Old Elk is probably one of the most, widely distributed and well-known brands that we have worked with thus far, alongside some great Kentucky names and some other distilleries. But definitely I'd say one of the most well-known distilleries and brands outside of Kentucky, especially. Definitely right up there. So it's awesome to work with you guys. It's awesome to have you on the call to kind of go through a bit of the history, the story of Old Elk. And just get some people excited about the brand. I mean, I'm sure a lot of people already know it, but it'd be good to delve deeper into the story. I mean, I'd like to hear it too. So quite excited about that. Yeah.
Great.
Welcome, Lewis.
Awesome. Well, thanks for having me here. Great to be here with everyone today and this evening, share a little bit about our story. I guess with the first update I'll give is I was formerly the CEO of Old Elk Distillery and now this Chief Commercial Officer of Middle West Spirits, who just recently acquired Old Elk Distillery. So couldn't be happier to work with an incredible team here at Middle West Spirits, based out of Columbus, Ohio. I think they are just as committed to quality and serving our customers as much as Old Elk was, and it was a great alignment. So excited to share the story of Old Elk and how we started. And I'm an open book, guys. So if you have got any questions, please feel free to ask, and we'll get after it. So a little bit about myself. Didn't come from the spirits industry originally, was always in the tech business, and found myself in 2017 taking on a challenge to come into Old Elk at that time and really start to kind of develop and drive the brand. When I had the blessing to join the Old Elk team, I was very much thankful to build an incredible team of people around me, and teaching me a little bit about what whiskey was, and I was teaching them a little bit about how to build and grow a business. And so it was one of those things where your business and your success is only as strong as those people that you put around you, that you get to serve every day as a great leader, and hope that as a leader, you're putting out more fires than you're starting. I'm not sure if that's always the case in my situation, but I like to say I'm certainly great at both, putting them out and starting them. So a little bit about the background of Old Elk prior to the acquisition of Middle West. We were a Colorado-based brand our development was led by Greg Metz, who was our master distiller at the time at Old Elk, who really took the reign on developing some of our custom mash bills and some of the mash bills you may have tried, across the country today. We really launched in 2017. When I came into the Old Elk business, I came from a business that was called Otterbox. So the cell phone case company, was blessed to work with that family there and start that business almost from the beginning to where it is today. And really, truthfully, I knew two things about whiskey at the time. I knew I liked to drink whiskey, and I knew I really liked to drink it a lot on college game days. And that was the extent. But again, talked about putting great people around you and leaning in on everyone's expertise to build that. So we knew that when we started, we wanted to be different. How do we create something of value? How do we put our customer first? There's this thing that's incredibly important in our business and every other industry and business, which is the voice of the customer, right? We're all here for our customers. We're all here for our consumers. We're all here for our employees. If you're on the leadership team, we have got internal customers that we serve and external customers that we serve. So as we started to really develop our brand and our business, it was, how do we want to differentiate? Obviously, you can see here on this picture of the bottle that elk head pourer on their top. That was one of the very first things that we did, was develop a functional pour that really grabbed the attention of people, especially in on-premise, that people could rally around and really excite. But it was, how do we diversify the portfolio, not just for what's important today, but what's going to be important 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 years from now, right? Which is a scary thought because no one has a crystal ball, but also a forward planning and innovation, thought. And how do we keep innovation at the forefront of everything that we do? So we created what our signature high malt mash bill is, which is a 51% corn, 34% malt, and 15% rye mash bill. And then from there, we created a wheat whiskey mash bill and a wheat bourbon mash bill and a rye mash bill through our distillation partner that George has now brought as an opportunity. And I love what George and Juan and team are doing here, providing an opportunity for the everyday consumer to take part in a barrel without having to put up that significant investment that it takes at times. So really, really great to see someone like George bringing Barrel Global to the market and providing this opportunity. So if we take a step back, we launched our business in November of 2017. And I remember pulling all of our teams together and
crazy
saying,
new, really new. It's like,
yeah,
I don't know. Old Elk has a feel that it's like, I don't know. I've seen it obviously, but it has a feel. I like brands that feel like they're older than they are. Like you'd think Old Elk with the packaging and just how the accessibility. I thought it was like at least 20, 15, 20 years old. So it's great that you guys built that. Sorry to interrupt, but yeah.
No, thank you for that. And again, it goes back to the team. I remember November of 2017 when we were getting ready to bottle our first bourbon and really kind of set our hunt across the country to become, a respected and awarded national bourbon brand and a sea of hundreds and thousands of competitors, and not bad ones. A lot of great brands out there. A lot of great people have done a lot of great things and have done a fantastic job with their bourbon. And kind of remember pulling our team together and telling them, all right, I need you to go home and kiss your spouse and kiss your kids because the next 16 to 24 months is going to be a grind, and we're going to live on the road as we're going out to introduce this brand to everyone. So if you fast forward 18, 20 months, after about 20, 21 months, we were then established in all 50 states and really started to put our best foot forward. We had a great distributor that's been a great partner to us, really believed in the brand and believed in the process and the strategy and the plan. Furthermore, it was about getting ready to really scale that business, right? I mean, I think one thing is true in scaling businesses. George, this, anyone on the line who's had the opportunity to lead a business or an entrepreneur of themselves, systems run the business and people run the systems. So how do you make sure you have the right systems in place to then be able to really scale with purpose and scale with intent to deliver what we wanted to deliver, which was one of the best bourbons in the country. And then if you fast forward to about 2021, 2022, Old Elk was the #1 ultra premium bourbon by growth in the country, which was an incredible achievement of just tenacity and dedication from our field sales team, from our marketing team, from our compliance team, production team, everybody who's involved. Where we were scaling our business to a pretty large footprint. So, I think if you go from there, competition continues to come, and the thing that we need to do most is really continue to listen to our customer. It's one thing for us to think that something's a home run, but it's another thing to make sure that our customers are looking for and getting what they're asking for, right? I always say, ask for everything that you want. You might get it all, you might get some of it, but you definitely won't get it if you don't ask for it, right? And so it's been a fun ride. I think. Go ahead, George. Sorry.
No, I just wanted to say, no, that's awesome. But I think it's crazy that you guys, in such a small time frame, you became like one of the best selling bourbons, like premium bourbons in the country. What would you say, like the biggest challenges were, like, and like what are some like big decisions, like you said about the elk head on the bottle and the toppers? What are some of just like the challenges of doing that? Because I mean, I'm really interested to know how. Because I know brands build over time, but to get to that fast is pretty impressive.
Yeah, no, thank you. I think, the first challenge is distribution, right? How do you, well, I'll say the first challenge is being dedicated to making great product and being patient, right? There's no substitute for time. What I didn't mention is, prior to 2017, we had manufactured all of our bourbon between 2012 and 2016. And so it was go ahead and make the bourbon and then, put it up and let it age and wait until it's ready. And I'll never forget, my first challenge was when I walked into the business and accounting told me, okay, by the way, the barrels are 5 to 6 years old. You've already lost, 27% of the barrel to Angel Share. And I'm like, what? What do you mean we've lost it? What does that mean? Coming from the tech business, if you lose something, you've messed something up. It doesn't just naturally happen. And so you can always expect 10 to 12% Angel Share in the first year, anywhere from 2 to 4% every year after that. So that was the first challenge, getting my head wrapped around. We had already lost, a significant amount of our investment just due to Angel Share. The second one, biggest challenge from that was building the team, right? Getting the culture right. It was a little bit easier for us because we already had one or two great people who were on the business, but we were starting new. And how do you make sure that we bring in the culture? Because if you don't have the right people, nothing works, right? And those people also include the distributors, right? It was a challenge around making sure that we've got a great distributor partner who believes in our vision and understands our vision and strategy and can get behind it. It doesn't mean that there's not a lot of competition that you have to deal with along the way. But you stick to your game plan, you build your plan, you work your plan, and the numbers and the results will come. If you start chasing numbers and you start chasing revenue, the behavior changes. And when behavior changes, you're no longer who you are. Right. And so it was about really being able to lay out a clear strategic path forward and getting buy-in from our distributor. Unfortunately, right after we launched certain of our brands, fast forward, I guess, 2.5 years later, COVID hit, right? And it was one of those things where it was like, okay, we're a brand, we're 2.5, 3 years old, and now everything's shutting down in the country. But the major opportunity there was the development of the team, and being a leader beyond the bottle, right? Beyond the process, beyond the industry. It was really a time to be a leader that brings in comfort and brings in security for your team and shelters your team from all the chaos that's happening and gives you the opportunity to really train the team to remove the fear of the unknown, right? I'm always a big believer that fear will overcome talent every day. And how do we make sure that we remove that? How are we going to not be fearful of something we haven't done yet, something we haven't tried yet? So it was all new to everybody, but it was also a challenging way to be innovative, right? And that's where a lot of innovation is always a challenge, but it was always in the DNA of everything that we've done. And so, again, having a great person like Greg Metz be a part of it early in the days, develop a really great whiskey, have a team that's able to put it together, a production team that's able to stretch the limits and really trust in themselves to put together some of the best blends, and then pulling in those people around you to confirm that it's a good blend, and then hitting the go button. At some point, you got to step off the curb, right? So we were really excited to develop an innovative portfolio that we did. I think some of the key, just looking at the questions here, some of the, talked about some of the challenges, but some of the key decisions and challenges, right, is how do you get awareness in a sea of brands, right? One is your packaging, right? And I think, everyone who has seen Old Elk bourbon in a store, on a bar, you can clearly see it from far away. As you're walking up to the shelf, you can really tell what that bottle is, and it really stands out. The second is connecting with the consumer, right? It's how do we be very intentional about what we do, Make sure that people have an opportunity to try the product, be a part of the brand, and be a true part of the herd that's being connected to the brand and always having the opportunity to learn about the brand.
Yeah.
I think in our industry, education has continued to grow and be a significant part of our of the spirits industry, and we see it now, right? And
Yeah.
tequila or mezcal or whiskey or scotch or American single malt, education's at the forefront of that. And so some of the key decisions that we made along the way is, where are we going to be patient to launch a product? Not rush it. Let's not chase the revenue. Let's put quality first. If
Yeah.
you think about launching brands, and sorry, I don't want to bore you guys to death here, but as you think about launching a brand, you've got kind of this golden triangle, right? And at the top, you've got quality, and bottom left hand corner you've got speed, and the other corner you have cost, right? And you're typically going to get two of those three things out of the gate. Well, one thing that we refuse to ever compromise on is quality, right? And so for us, it was easy to say we want to put the best product we can put out, not rush anything, not shield anything, and be very authentic about what we're putting out. And so that was a non-negotiable for us. Speed was also the thing.
Yeah.
George, you said it earlier in the sense of, how did you grow so fast? And it feels like you've been around for a long time. Along the way, I had a lot of people say, well, aren't you worried about the bigger brands? Aren't you worried about the bigger brands? Sure. Bigger brands oftentimes can beat the smaller brand, but faster always beats slower, right? And so when you develop the right systems in the business and the right processes, and you give autonomy to the teams to make decisions and execute, you're able to move with accuracy and speed. So we're able to capture opportunities that maybe some brands can't, right? Because they're in the room talking about it. Kind of that paralysis by analysis type thing. At the end of the day, we're in a very fun industry, and we're going to try things. And if something doesn't work, we're going to reassess and, feel the mistake, make the adjustment, and move forward. Right. And so
Way to do it.
that's it. So I think our product roadmap in our cask series was a major key decision within our business. And I would love to say that I can take all the credit for it, but I can't. It was a room of really smart people and really passionate people about what they did and developing what the voice of the customer was asking for.
Yeah, I totally agree. I'm a real. I mean, unlike like in the past, there's like a lot of good liquid now. Like there's a lot of people are making really good whiskey. So I'm a firm believer in like, the storytelling aspect, the people behind it. The packaging super important for me. Like me coming from like a writing storytelling background, I've always because again, there's going to be tons of really good bourbon, but I mean, I think the packaging now is very important, the story behind the brand, and again, the people representing it. But yeah, you guys, and I think the variety, I like a brand that has their core products, but then I do like that you guys have all this new releases, keeping people excited. That's what we try and do too. I mean, it's a very different business model, but having people like you on and new exciting brands, for our customers to like really get behind and learn new things and understand that bourbon just isn't, Kentucky,
Right.
which, it's like, I think it's like 50% of our, sales teams calls is kind of just like introducing people to like amazing bourbon outside of Kentucky. Because, for the longest time that was the norm. So yeah, so that's why I was super excited. Cause I mean, I don't know, I think in my, what you call it, ignorance. I mean, back in the past, before I'd really looked into it, I thought Old Elk was a Kentucky bourbon just because it looks that, it's got that historic kind of legacy look to it that I kind of, and then when I looked deeper into it, obviously I was like, oh, wow. So it's pretty cool. You guys have achieved to like reach up to be in the same category and even outgrowing some of the really, really big Kentucky, brands out there in such a short period of time, which is awesome.
Well, you're not I'll tell you, you're not all the way wrong about Kentucky. Old Elk was actually a Kentucky brand pre-prohibition, and so it was a Kentucky brand pre-prohibition, never got out of prohibition, and that's when we found the name, and we decided that we wanted to take something that was born in Kentucky and resurrect it in Colorado. right? And now, couldn't be happier to be here at Middle West Spirits in Ohio with a beautiful facility with a team that's just dedicated to production and dedicated to quality. A great team here, and really looking forward to a bright future with Old Elk. So Old Elk and Middle West.
Amazing. Right. So before we get into, I think I want to get into like the future and kind of delve into this Middle West and kind of expansion. But I wanted to delve into just a bit about, barrel ownership. First of all, it'd be cool to kind of talk a little bit about the barrels that we bought. The mash bill that we bought. I mean, I know 51 corn, 45 wheat, 4 barley. We decided to go down that route. And yeah, just kind of the kind of model and the approach of Old Elk for barrel ownership. I mean, you know how we do it here at Barrel Global. We let anybody access it. We wanted to give people the best experience. I know we aligned on that, like giving clients the best experience that can be given. I know that the Middle West site in Ohio, where kind of Old Elk is going to be their new home, is one of the most modern, state of the art distilleries in the entire U.S. Middle West also is like the 5th, 6th biggest independent distilling group in the US, which is huge. I quite like that because I think, unlike the massive companies that are buying up brands, it's nice to have a really big brand that's also independent, so you can still play around. Because from our experience, it's great, but I know that when a big company, the likes of Diageo and Pernod and all that, buy a brand, it changes a lot internally, and then it makes it just much harder to innovate and do new things. So I think it's really good to see that Middle West came in. They're big enough to kind of help expansion, but also still independently owned, so that you can do fun stuff and like sell us barrels, barrels, some barrels. Yeah. But you can talk a bit about that. That'd be awesome.
Yeah, I think when you're in a great opportunity where you can't transact around the brand, right? You always want to make sure that you're aligning with people who share similar values and culture that you share. And Ryan Lang and team here at Middle West, now that I'm very grateful to be a part of, truly share that same passion, the same integrity, the same commitment to quality. And when you talk about a state-of-the-art facility, I mean, it is a beautiful distillery. Something that we always wanted to anchor to, right? And it's nice to now have Middle West to be able to anchor to that. And as far as the Middle West brand goes, I mean, they make phenomenal whiskeys. We can't wait to help grow that together across the country. Middle West has got an incredible pumpernickel rye, which is a dark pumpernickel rye. It's a different type of grain, really truly unique. Couldn't be more excited and diving into all their product lines. And again, great people, right? I mean, from a people perspective, all across the board, from the distillers to the production team, to the office, the administrative staff, couldn't be happier with a team that's aligned and, more importantly, committed, to the future of the industry. Ryan and team are certainly those people that are, a lot like me. Hey, we're gonna try it. Let's try it. Let's see what happens. Let's see what happens, and then if it's a success, let's scale it up, right? And so again, it kind of brings in that fun piece of the business, and being very thankful to have a flexible team that we can go out and build innovation, which is some of the most challenging things to do. So with the wheat mash bills, really unique. It brings in that softer but very bourbon robust flavor. Really lends itself great to cocktails, neat on ice. My team used to always yell at me, you're not supposed to drink this bourbon in a cocktail. My philosophy is you drink your bourbon how you like it. If you like it on a cocktail, great. If you like it neat, great. If you like it over the rocks, great. Most important thing is that you're drinking it, you're enjoying it, and hopefully enjoying it with friends and family, building memories around it. So every now and then, if it was time to get my team riled up a little bit, I would pour myself a nice whiskey and maybe pour some Coke in it or something to get them a little riled up and a little heated for the day. But I think everyone's going to truly love the wheated mash bills.
Yeah. No, awesome. Yeah, we're super excited. It's a great mash bill. yeah, definitely. We have a lot of our clients really like the higher wheat stuff, which is definitely something we really wanted to go with. And yeah, I mean, just adding to that, you guys, everybody who's thinking about buying a barrel of old elk or has already, me and Lewis have discussed this. We're going to try to give everybody the best experience you could possibly get. As we discussed, the Middle West site is amazing. I've heard this from other people too, so it's not just, don't just listen to Lewis. I've heard it outside that it's a really great place. It's has amazing tours, great bourbon experience. Again, you guys will be able to taste your barrels, and again with planning and everything. But we're very sure you'll be getting an amazing experience. And down the line, if you want to bottle your barrel as well, we're looking forward to working much more with Old Elk and Middle West, and then with aged barrels, different types of mash bills. We're super excited about this. So yeah, I mean, again, any questions you guys have, just send them through here as well. We already have some questions that have come through, but if you have any more now that you've heard about from Lewis and you want to delve some out, just send them through now, and we can delve into them when we wrap up. But moving on, something I wanted to kind of discuss is we've discussed Middle West, the acquisition, is super exciting. I know you can't share probably everything, but what's the kind of the kind of drive now behind the acquisition's kind of not done, but it's still, everything's still falling into place. But when it has, what are you guys looking to do? Is like global expansion in the works? Is that, export markets something we want to do? More SKUs, more, I guess, US distribution. What's this little guy? What's the plan?
Yeah, I think it's, continue to bring the Middle West vision to life, right?
Okay.
Which also includes Old Elk, right? So now really starting to focus on our approach of a house of brands, where we're able to really continue to develop the brand portfolio, bring innovative mash bills to the market, bring innovative finishes to the market, and then this traditional mash bills that people have come to love and respect in the industry, as well as as their everyday pours. So I think it is certainly a global footprint approach. Continue to serve our customers, continue to get new customers, and as Middle West, we're also a contract manufacturer, so we make product for other people as well, right? And so continuing to provide a lower barrier to entry for other brands to be a part of the industry. I think there's enough room for everybody, in the business, and if there's not, then let the best team win, type thing. But I think it's continued down the incredible vision that's been built at Middle West, and providing a great opportunity for brands inside and outside of our portfolio, and certainly establishing a global footprint.
Okay. Okay. Awesome. So the Old Elk, so you do have plans to kind of for export markets, are you in any export markets, or is it fully in the US right now?
Fully in the US right now. Hopefully here in 2026 we'll be knocking on the door some export markets.
Okay. Amazing. Well, you guys have the US pretty sorted, so it'd be good to start seeing it in the shelves in some European markets. But what have you had any interest from any markets abroad so far? Like, have you seen it? Have you had a lot of interest?
Yeah, I think we spent some time in Germany, at Bar Convent Berlin, and the reception of that was just incredibly welcoming. We see some opportunity there. We see some opportunity, in the market in Spain. We see some opportunity, in Japan. Lots of big targets on the radar. So it's about getting the house in order and getting ready to get after that expansion like we did in the US.
Awesome. Sweet. All right, man. Well, thank you so much for that. Let me come out here, and we can delve into a few questions we've been asked here. Let me just look at them. So we've got a question from Alex Blake, which is, he's in Nashville, Tennessee. Jack Daniel's Whiskey and Woodford Reserve Bourbon is laying off approximately 12% of 5,400 employees amid a downturn in spirit sales. Article released January 2025. Is this a trend in the market, and are y'all getting the same reading of a downturn in spirit sales? I mean, I have my opinion on that, but I mean, you jump in.
Yeah, that's a great question, and that's a very real situation that's happening. We're going the opposite direction. We're hiring more salespeople. We're controlling our costs where we can, which is incredibly critical to getting through a downturn. I think for anyone to say that there's not a downturn, I think it's a little naive. There certainly has been a downturn. Now, is the spirits market or whiskey going anywhere? No, right? What changes are the price points in which move at a high velocity within the industry, right? It's kind of like everything's not for everyone, and that's okay, but there is something for everyone. So the challenge is on the suppliers and people like us to develop something that is maybe a little bit more of an entry level product, right? A little bit more of a lower cost to barrier entry product, but doesn't sacrifice on quality.
Yeah.
So I think the Middle West team, prior to us getting here, have been very smart about how they've run their business and scaled their business. And we have been very smart about it as well. And together, our forces are just, very complementary. And again, Ryan, who is the owner and founder of Middle West, is, a very dedicated person. And, the downturn, I think, will end here pretty soon. But most important part is continue to manage your cost, continue to support your customers, and you can't do that by letting people go. You need to bring people on to do that, and always focus on what I like to always say is we've got two decisions to make every day in life. We can either make vanity decisions or we can make sanity decisions. Now is the time and always the time to focus on sanity decisions. And so, if we do those type of things, then we can put our customer first and continue to support the business and do our best to grow it.
Yeah. Awesome. A question just came in, which is pretty interesting because I know we discussed this. So like Frank Prince here says, I'm a novice, but would think by moving to Ohio, the grains will be different. The weather is different. Then Fort Collins, do you expect a different whiskey, bourbon? Thoughts? Congratulations on the sale. Sorry to see you leave Fort Collins, since that is where I am.
So Frank, I hear you. I also live in I live right outside of Fort Collins. So I live in a little town called Windsor, but not so little anymore. I guess like you used to remember Fort Collins, I'm sure. So from day one, we were always very transparent that our product was actually manufactured in Indiana, right? But it was some of our custom mash bills. If you look at the back of the bottle, it'll say it as well. And so I think we're very intentional about making sure that we can source the grains as close to where we had, but more importantly, it's the process, right? It's the process and how we distill. It's the quality of grains and that we get, and no cutting corners. There is no intent to make the grains any cheaper or source them, any cheaper or less quality with the acquisition. So we've got a lot of discipline behind how we source. George, I gotta say, that's a massive water bottle.
Right? Stay hydrated, buddy.
There's 100% intent to continue the quality and make sure that we get the grain right and we get the distillate right, because it all starts there. Like our distiller used to say, and our team says, a barrel will only make good whiskey great. It won't make bad whiskey good. A barrel will do its job if the distillate is great and good. And so, hyper focused on making sure that we are maintaining the same quality. As far as aging goes, a lot of our barrels age in Indiana for the first 4 to 5 years, and then they're moved over to Colorado. So going to be very, very similar. Along the way, we do a lot of studies and flavor profile tests to understand how that's impacting and what we need to do to make adjustments to stay on quality. But great question, and thanks for being on, and can't wait to make it back to Colorado tomorrow. So
yeah. Awesome. All right. So we answered the question from Alex Blake, Frank. I'm going to do some of these, Mark. Sorry, before, because I think these people send these in. So Dustin from California has asked specifically which expressions would be available to purchase in a barrel. So as we mentioned, we went with their, the Old Elk High wheat mash bill, which is 51 corn, 45 wheat, and 4 malted barley. But as Lewis mentioned, they have a really high. One of their signatures. I mean, your signature is a high malted barley, and you play around. I know there's like a crazy like rye one that's hard to not really available, but we're starting with this. Our first batch of barrels are the high wheat. And then moving ahead, we want to kind of, again, diversify, see what the guys are working on, buy some other things that our customers are interested in. So, I mean, honestly, if you are interested in something else, do send it in or speak to your portfolio manager, because that's all the reason we need to buy some more and buy something different. So this is just our kicking off with the partnership. We've done some high rye stuff in the last few months. We wanted some in high wheat, but, lots possible, I'd say there. Paul Shans from Knoxville is just excited to learn more about the distillery. Hopefully, you've gotten what you wanted through this webinar. But again, any questions you have, send them through. We'll make sure to ask Lewis if we can't answer them. And anything you need to know. Next, we've got Kent Burns from Missouri. What do you see as whiskey and bourbon's biggest competition over the next 5 to 10 years? It's an interesting one.
Ooh. Well, let's see. I mean, I think, from a spirits perspective, tequila certainly continues to gain strength. And there's so many great bartenders, mixologists, cocktail creators across the country that are incredible at what they do and incredible at pulling together great drinks that help people cross over categories, right? So I think that tequila is going to continue to be a threat in the spirits space. Lucky, for us, we're going to be a house of brands and a wide portfolio. So one day soon we have a really good tequila that we can put into our portfolio and develop ourselves. I think cannabis is one of those things that's out there and becoming legal, in several states across the country. I think it maybe affects beer a little bit more than it affects, whiskey and bourbon and spirits, but certainly something to keep an eye on.
Yeah.
I think right now that's kind of those are the things on my mind. Mezcal, another one.
I'd say people not drinking. Like I'd say all these non-alcoholic things. Like, what's wrong with people? Alcohol is amazing.
Yeah, I think non-alcohol, NA drinks and NA products. But anytime I think about that, I like to lean on my friend Frank Sinatra, who said, I think his quote was, "I feel sorry for those who don't drink when they wake up in the morning. That's as good as they're going to feel today." So, but non-alcohol is certainly gaining traction, and there's been a couple brands that have done a really good job with that. But I think everything it's everything in moderation, is one of those things that you got to remember. But I would say that's the top three things.
Nice.
Just people changing their drinking habits, tequila, and the cannabis industry.
Cool. Ray Brown here asked to tell more about the sale of Old Elk. So I think we've kind of touched on that and what Middle West is bringing to the table, and what the partnership's gonna yield and the outlook in the future. So that's the question sent in. And then from Mark here, he says, your mash bills are barley forward, which I'm not opposed to. Do you have any plans to tinker with some different formulation? So I guess it's a good one. Now that you guys are moving to Middle West, you guys have planned to add any new SKUs or kind of diversify, like add more? I know you already have quite a diverse portfolio of SKUs, but do you plan to delve deeper into that?
Yeah, for sure. I think Middle West has some great products. As us as a distillery, we have some great products as a whole, and how those mash bills and different variations cross over. We'll certainly dig into that. One that I'm incredibly excited about is our Middle West Pumpernickel Rye. I think it is a incredibly unique product, very different than all the ryes that are out there today. I don't mind saying that, because if anyone wants to try to do it right now, hey, you're 2 to 6 years behind, So, but I think, just the reach and the scale from a production capacity standpoint and a knowledge from a manufacturing standpoint, with us here at Middle West in the grains. Because really at Middle West, what a lot of people don't know is we're grain to bottle, right? We've got our own grain fields. So we grow our corn. I mean, we grow our rye, we grow our wheat, we grow our barley, we grow our grains that we bring to the table. And so being able to control that process from kind of, seed to distillate to barrel to bottle is a really, really unique thing that I'm really excited about.
Awesome. Great. Okay. Well, I guess that's all the questions that we have. Liz, thanks for your time. Good to hear all about the Old Elk story and the, new acquisition from Middle West. And yeah, hope all that goes great and that you guys continue to grow. Look forward to working together. And yeah, thanks for joining us.
Likewise. Well, thank you so much for having me, and thanks for everyone for trying Old Duck if you have, and Middle West, and we'll see you on the next one.
Yeah. Awesome.
All right, George. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
All right, bye.